It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up. Welcome. You're listening to Bucked Up with Sam Buck.
Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. You have fucked up now. Now you fucked up. 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 Now you have fucked up.
Welcome, freshman Woes, to the Bucked Up Podcast. Thank you so much for being on.
Yo, thank you for having me.
Of course, I got to give a shout out to a former guest, Thatcher Wood. He put me on to Rap Dudes when it first came out, and I've just been a fan of your shit ever since, and I'm really excited to have you on. Yeah.
What was his name?
Thatcher Wood. He was on, I think, episode 4. Yeah, it came up on his Spotify playlist, and we were listening, and we just kept listening to it. You have such a unique production style.
No, I appreciate that, man. I try to have my own sound, so yeah.
Who do you compare your style to? At least, who did you look up to when you first got into it?
My favorite is Madlib and DJ Muggs. So they're two totally different styles. So I try to fall somewhere in between there, and I probably fail at doing that, but that's my intention.
Well, those are both great producers. I forgot to even say this. You are a producer. You can find all your stuff on Apple and Spotify under Freshman Woes, but your shit's so good, and you do kind of fall in between that. I've been getting into Madlib more recently since of course, I got the Freddie Gibbs. I loved Bandana, and that just made me go back and start listening to all his shit. Because
those are new classics, and then he has all the old classics. Yeah,
exactly.
He's perfect to me. He kind of taught me that there's no rules to this. So I kind of try to have one foot in that psychedelic abstract, and then one foot in the really dark, grimy, all the stuff that's stuff right now, the Griselda and all that.
Of course, yeah, we definitely have to talk about Griselda. But DJ Muggs, you said he's so unique too, and he doesn't follow any structure. Wow. Ever since the early Cypress Hill stuff, but now his stuff with Mac Homie and all that, he's such a great producer.
Yeah, as a fan, it's been really exciting to watch him because he had all these different runs. He had his run with Cypress Hill, and then he had his run in the 2000s when he was doing the verses with Jizza and Planet Asia, and then now he has this new run with all the new guys, and it's as a fan, it's great, man. I love it.
How'd you get into how did you get into rap, I guess? Did you grow up with it, or? Yeah,
it's just ever since I was little, I just loved rap. That was what got me into music. And then, trying to make rap got me into all these other genres. But rap was, my base for music. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a rapper. And then at some point, I was that's never going to happen for you. So you need to learn how to make these beats. So that's what I started focusing on.
How old were you when you started making beats?
I was in high school, 9th, 10th grade.
Okay, so you do have years under your belt.
Yeah,
it shows in your work.
I started early, and then I took a long break, and then I started again. When I was a kid, in the Source magazine, they used to have all the equipment in the back. You could order the DJ startup kit. I ordered all that shit, and then I made all these demos when I was a kid. And then I stopped in my 20s, and I didn't do anything for a long time. And then once I got in my late 20s, I started doing it again. And then, yeah, that's what brought me to where I am now.
What made you kind of get back into it and take it seriously? Because you have some guests on your shit that you put your work in. It shows. So what made that switch flip?
I guess. I don't know, I never really wanted to do anything half-assed. I always, I didn't ask anybody to be on a song, until I thought, I was making beats that were good enough to ask them to get on the song. And then it's everything just worked out. I didn't try to rush it. You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
once I started asking people to do stuff, like everybody was really receptive to doing it. So I'm glad that I had that break in between, because I think if I would have tried to do what I'm doing now, when I was like in my early 20s and stuff, like in a teen, it never would have worked. Like, I feel like everything happened like perfect time.
Everything happens for a reason. It's funny. That's why Dave Chappelle's Block Party was my dad's favorite movie growing up. And he says in that comedians and rappers are like kind of the same thing in that way. And I do feel that way. Like Chappelle or Rodney Dangerfield take these long breaks in time and they come back and they have completely new life experiences to draw from or to work from. And that sometimes gets the best artist out of it.
That's
Like,
why, when I was young, I had I had a son when I was like 17, and that made me grow up real quick. And then I had another son when I was like 21 years old. And then like life came at me real fast and I adapted and I was handling everything well. But then once like I finally got some stability again, I was like, okay, I need some kind of release. Like I'm doing everything I should be doing, but I need to find something to like fill my passion. And that's where I started getting back into music.
was music always like in the back of your mind, or when you had your kids was like family all you had to focus on? Was that
like I've always been obsessed with music. Like anyone that knows me will tell you like they're like, oh man, Woes is like, he's on it. Like he's in the streets all day. Like he knows about all the new stuff. Like that's just how I am. I've always been that way. But my thing is like I couldn't leave it alone. Like I always wanted to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just times where I couldn't do it. You know, I had to focus on other things. But as soon as I got the opportunity and I got the stability, I started doing music again. And yeah, it's been really good. Like it took a while to get to where I feel like I just started getting like traction again, like this year. But it's a process, you know, and it's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I was the same way. Did people around you listen to rap music too? Like no one around me really listened to it. My dad is a metal drummer, but I saw Wu-Tang Clan when I was 12 years old with him. Like I grew up listening to Kanye, like Ice Cube, The Predator. I knew every word to when I was like 7 years old. So no one really listened to rap like I did growing up. So I had to kind of dive down and focus on it.
Well, I had a real weird childhood. Like my dad was in the Air Force, so I moved around a lot as a kid. But no matter where I lived, like I always lived on the military base, and it was like just like a little city. Like I lived in North Dakota. You were talking about. Oh,
really? Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about going on tour there. I lived there in Grand Forks, North Dakota, until I was probably in 7th grade.
Oh, damn.
And that's country. Like it's country there. But we lived on the military base. Like we were in our own little world out there, and like we were oblivious to what was going on outside the base. So rap music was always there. And then I moved down south when my dad got out of the military, and then I'd say like mid high school he retired from the Air Force, and we went back to the Midwest, and I lived in like rural Illinois. And no one there listened to rap music. Like this shit was terrible. Like it was definitely a culture shock. And there, like, it was kind of the way you described. Like I just had to be comfortable. Like I know this is what I like. This is what I'm gonna listen to. Like no one else listened to it. They all thought I was weird there. And then as soon as I graduated high school, I moved to St. Louis, Missouri, and that was like it brought me back to reality. And I stayed there. And then after that, like I kind of went back and forth from there to the West Coast. But I definitely had that period in my teens where it was like, this is what you love, and you just had to dedicate yourself to it, no matter what anyone else says. Like
that's how I feel about comedy. But it's also how I just was a rap fan, but music wasn't my thing. Having my dad be a musician, I was like, music's his thing. Comedy can be my thing, but I've always just loved rap. He wasn't the biggest rap fan, but that was So who was big in North Dakota? Because was it Cali shit? Was it Chicago stuff?
Well,
Like
that's
what was?
that's the kind of the cool thing, because like we didn't have any like cultural or regional bias. Like we listened to everything. So I was listening to all the East Coast stuff, all the West Coast stuff, like down south, everything, like the best of everything. Like I didn't really cater to one style. There were like certain times where like when I first got into music, maybe I'd say like junior high school, like I kind of gravitated toward the West Coast, because that's where that's what was hot at the time, like Dr. Dre. And then when I got into high school, I got into more East Coast, but I've always been like all over the place with it.
Well,
And
that shows in your stuff. You don't have you have such a wide variety. Like the grimy collection connection was so like that's the New York, but then Rap Dudes and More Rap Dudes is so like funky and not the grime.
I kind of think so too, and that's the thing. Like I love all the little subgenres in hip hop. Like I can go from listening to West Side Gun to listening to Milo, and then to anything. It doesn't like I try to put that in my music too, but
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of rap fans want you to do one thing, and that's why Madlib's my favorite, because like he never did one thing.
No, he didn't. And Muggs is stuck to maybe styles in his decades, but he switches around so much, and each project he does with each rapper is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
So we were talking about Griselda. That's who I listen to mostly, but I listen to everything too. Like I have a Lil Uzi Vert shirt on right now. Like I even like trap, which how do you feel about that? Are you a fan of like more trappy stuff or?
Not so much. Like I like some new stuff. Like I'm not just opposed to everything, but like a lot of the little rappers, like it's just I don't hate it, but it's not my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. But Griselda, that's why I love them so much, is they're like old school and they stick to their shit. But with West Side, he'll do songs with like Rick Ross and DJ Drama, or like he'll hop on an R&B song and he'll kill it no matter what.
But I mean, that stuff's good. Like at the same time, like when I was a kid, like I was literally listening to like Ruckus records, and then at the same time, like I listened to all the Def Jam shit. So like to me, there's no like mainstream underground. There's a lot of cats that are like, we only like underground, but I never subscribed to that. Like I think if it's dope, it's dope. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because like I don't know, Milo, as you said, or what he rapped Ferreira, his new album was fantastic. But
that shit's amazing.
So good. He's very underground and he sticks to his thing, but still, you can like the spectrum of things. There's not really a mainstream now. It's kind of everyone's just making what you want, and you do that with your Bandcamp. You can support artists that you want to listen to instead of just what the label supports.
And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. Like I'll have the Grimy Connection song with Guilty Simpson, Concept Jackson, and Aldovino, which to me that's hardcore shit. And then I'll go from that to like doing a song with Micah 9, and Micah 9 is amazing, like art rap to me. Like,
yeah, that song is great.
There's no rules to it to me. Like it should be all one, and that's what I'm trying to do. Like with the album.
Yeah. So how did you reach out to the like Blue? How were you able to work with Blue? Because you now have 2 songs together that are both amazing.
I just met him at a few shows, and then I asked him like, hey, would you be down to do a song? And he gave me his email, and then the rest was history. Like literally, I went from like, I lived in St. Louis, and I was trying to do songs, like I was beating my head against the wall trying to do songs with local rappers. And I wasn't crazy about the music that we were making, but I just wanted to do rap music. And we did some, like I was trying to do songs with local rappers, and it just wasn't going anywhere. And then the first real song that I did with a real rapper was Blue. He did the More Rap Dudes. And like, I was like, literally at the time I was like, yo, how great is this? Like your first real collab is with like your favorite, like Andre 3000 is probably my favorite rapper. But I always say like Blue is my favorite rapper. That's not Andre 3000. Like after Andre 3000 is Blue. Like Blue's my favorite rapper, and he was literally the first one that was like, "Yeah, send me something," and I was like, "All right, we're gonna do this." Like it was crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, and it shows that everything kind of works out because you guys have a natural chemistry in the way that he rhymes over your beats. And it's funny, I was reading an article on Homeboy Sandman literally 3 days before I heard Rap Dudes, and then I recognized his name on it, and that was crazy because
He's
I was
so
just a
talented, man. Like he's been really inspiring because he's another one of those guys who I feel like can do almost any different style.
yeah, he really can. He really can. So I grew up also listening to Little Brother, and you have Big Pooh on one of your songs. How did you collab with him?
I'd say in like 2016, I was living in California for like 8 years, and then I had an opportunity for like a promotion. I took a position in South Carolina, and I knew like I wasn't going to be crazy about living in South Carolina, but everything about the job, like the benefits, it was almost like too good to turn down. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go down there for like 3 or 4 years. I'm going to work there, and I'm going to see what happens. And eventually, hopefully, maybe I'll make my way back to the West Coast. So I went down there, and that was like objective number one. Like, because at that time, I had done songs with Blue, Planet Asia, MED. Like, I felt like I was in California, like a Midwest kid in California, and I was doing songs with like guys that I idolized growing up. So I said, I'm going to do the same thing when I go down south. And in the Carolinas, there's not much to pull from other than Little Brother. So I was like, I got to do a song with somebody from Little Brother. And then it just one day, rapper Big Pooh was like, I'm doing features right now. So I sent him the beat, and he was like, oh, I love this. Let's do it. And I was like, bet, let's go.
That's crazy.
The guy, the second guy on that song, Danny Watts, I feel like he doesn't get the attention that he really deserves. He's on John Wayne. You know John Wayne?
John Wayne's a killer. Yeah, I love John Wayne.
Danny Watts he did a record on his record label, Authors Recordings. Like his album was phenomenal. Like I think it came out in like 2017. Like it's one of my favorite albums that year. So,
Danny Watts, I'm writing it down right now. I'll listen to it.
Danny Watts, it's Black Boy Meets World. Like I guarantee you will love this album. If you like Milo and all that stuff, you will love his stuff.
All right, I'll check that out.
He's from Texas. So I was like, this is my opportunity to do like a down south. That's my version of a down south rap song. Like, it's kind of bluesy. Like I was like, that's as down south as I get. So I put them together, and man, that's one of my favorite songs that I've done.
That's one of my favorite songs that you have too. I can't wait for the album. When's that? When do you think you're dropping that?
I wish, like, my plan, I'm an album guy. Like, I would have rather just put out the album all at one time, but being a new artist and then just honestly, like, monetarily, like, I couldn't just put out the album. And plus, you got to keep, like, feeding music out to people. So I've been putting out one song at a time. But right now, I got songs with Boog Brown from Detroit. She did an album with Apollo Brown, and she has an album coming out with Twami that's just crazy. I got a song with Cassius King.
Okay.
He works with Blue real heavy and Dirty Science Crew. And then I've got a song with Big Rube from the Dungeon Family and Vic Spencer. I know you know Vic Spencer probably.
Yeah, Vic Spencer's so good. His last project with Sonny Jim was so good.
Oh, yeah. He's so dope, man. He's one of my favorite. And plus, we're both from the Midwest. Like, it's really dope. I hope that we can do more joints together. But, like, right now, I'm stacking all these songs. I'm about to put out one with MED. I should send it to you. That one's done. Like, it's pretty much ready to go. I'm just waiting for the art.
Awesome. I'd love to listen to that.
Yeah, once we get up here, I'll send it to you so you can hear it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And that one's really good. Like, right now, I'm just sitting on a bunch of music. I got, like, one more song to finish, and it's going to be, like, a 12-track album. I'm hoping to finish it by, like, December and then kind of the same way I did this year, where I've been putting out one song at a time. Next year, I'm going to do the same thing, but put out like 4 or 5 songs. And then as soon as I complete that, I'll roll out the full-length album and the vinyl and all that stuff too.
I can't wait for that. I feel like Griselda, I know we were talking about them before, is really good at staying on people's radar. They do the thing where it's that you're doing, where it's they release music constantly so they stay on your radar. Yeah, that's how I got onto you, is you were releasing music consistently. And I was like, oh, every beat's killer. Every beat's killer. I'm looking forward to the next one. And that was, but it worked. It works. It's a good thing to do.
That was my goal. Honestly, like at the end of last year, I was ready to stop doing music. Like, and then something clicked. And this year I was like, you know what? You have nothing else to do. Like, you're not going to be able to put out an album at one time. I was like, so just start making a little progress. And I was like, all right, you're going to put out 1 song a month. And I did that like all the way till May. And then I took a little break, and then I put another one out in August, and then I got 1 more to come out. So, and then I had more success this year than like I had put out, like my crew is called Cadillac Needs Space to Roam, like, and we were putting out mixtapes before, and we were not even like making a dent, and it was kind of disheartening, but I think that's just the process as being like new and doing art. Like, you got to go through that. But this year, like, I actually like started seeing some success from it, and yeah, it's been amazing. Even the little things, like, to most people, like, I got on Shade 45 on DJ Trackstar from Run the Jewels. I got on his show. I got on Muggs' show, Soul Assassins. Like, most people, like, they're like, oh, you just got on a show. But to me, I'm like, that's a crazy big deal. Like,
it's crazy. That goes back to the rap and comedy thing. It's because, like, right before quarantine, I was getting booked on a lot of shows. I was doing all these things, these shows, and people would be like, oh, you're driving 4 hours to do a set at some club in New York. Like, who cares? It's like, no, this is how you do it. And you have to, the only thing that holds you back, we talk about this on this show, is like resistance. Like, you're the thing that holds, like, your mind telling you to stop. And if you just beat that one step, then look at the success that comes out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I got, like, in the Midwest, I was on the Rhymesayers street team for years and years and years. And, like, this year, they put me on their playlist. And I was just like, oh, that's crazy to me. Like,
finally.
Like their music, like today, it doesn't mean as much as what it did, like, 10 years ago. But, like, still, that was just, like, vindication. Like these are the dudes you grew up idolizing, and they put you on their playlist, like Mellow Music Group, OK Player, Two Dope Boys. Like, yeah, like, those little things, like, just getting on a playlist, they probably mean nothing to the average person. But to me, it was like, okay, you're doing something right now. Like, this is working now. Like, how you going to quit now? Like, you can't quit now.
No, this is the time to even go. You have to go harder, right? When like, I was reading this book by Stephen Pressfield that I talk about called The War of Art. It's really good, but he talks about, like, the more you feel like a physical tension to stop something is the more you have to do it. Because that's, like, if you can break past that, that's, like, when you become your next form, the form that kind of can move forward. Going back to the... Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, I was changing subjects. I was just going back to your music. You have a lot of, like, live instruments on your shit. Do you play it, or how do you find your loops, or do you?
No, well, usually I start with the sample, and then, to me, like, I've always been like, music is not, like, I've never wanted to sit in my bedroom and do music on my own. Like, So I just work with all my friends. Like, I know this person that plays guitar. Like, I know a million people that play guitar. I know this person that plays horns. So, like, I'll start making this beat, and I'll automatically hear them, or I'll have them replay a sample. I'm like, that sample's cool, but we can replay this, and it'll probably be, like, so much more doper if they replay it, and then we can add on to what they did. So I always try to do that, and I'm going to always do that, I think, because even if you look at, like, all the great super producers like Dr. Dre, the Kanye's, like if you look at how many people are contributing to their tracks, like music is not a solo thing. Like very rarely, I think the best music is not going to be just one person doing everything. Like, and honestly, for me, like music has always been a family thing. So I always want to get all my friends involved. Like the more people we can have do this together, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, like as I said, grew up listening to a lot of Kanye, and he is like a composer. It's not just like it's his project, but he composes a group of people to make that. And
if you look at like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, like the way that he'll have like this producer come in and this producer come in, and then they have these musicians come in, like that shit's amazing to me. And Dr. Dre does the same thing. Like, so at my minuscule level, like that's what I'm trying to do. Like, I know this guy that can do this, so I'm gonna tap into him. And it just depends on who I'm working with. There's one guy named Brad Leatherman, or Boo Radley. I did a lot of songs with him. Like, he's my kind of like, we have a crew together called Cadillac Needs Space to Roam. That is my favorite collaborator. Like, I can like hum shit and be like, hey, do this, and then he just kills it. Like, we've been making art together since we were in like grade school, so it just comes, it comes so naturally. And then there's a couple other people that I work with that are like getting to that level, but yeah, I just want to keep expanding my network. Like, the more people that I can tap into, the better the music is going to be.
So do you like working with real musicians, or do you search for samples? Like, I have a couple friends who produce it all day. They're just listening to music, trying to find samples and stuff.
I do both, because like the beat that I'm going to bring them is all sample based, but I'm going to tell them like, I want you to do this on top of it, or I'm going to be like, I left this part open because I kind of heard you doing this on it. So like, I'm really like a mix of both. And that's what, like, I grew up on like Organized Noise, and they did the same thing. Like, people always brag about Organized Noise. They didn't use samples, but if you really listen to it, they use a lot of samples. They just mixed the live musicianship with it, and you couldn't tell what was a sample and what was live. And that's what I kind of try to do too.
Yeah, I can. And then there's like, if you listen to like the Atrocity Exhibition by Danny Brown, it's like those those are just like he's rapping over like a Star Wars sample, but it's so.
What's the dude's name? Paul White.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the bulk of those beats. That dude is so amazing, man. Like,
he's crazy with that.
Yeah, Danny Brown's one of my favorites too. He's like one of my favorite new rappers. You know what I mean? Like, he's not really new anymore, but he's kind of like. He's new still, like.
Exactly.
Like, every time he comes out, like, you know he's gonna kill it.
Do you how do you search for your samples? I always wonder that. Like, how do you find your like music?
I just go to the record store, and it's all like what the cover looks like. I'm reading what kind of instruments they're playing on it. It's a lot of like just guessing, honestly. Like,
I can tell by your background you're a vinyl guy.
yeah. Yeah, it's really the luck of the draw. Like, some days I go out digging all day and I don't find anything, and then some days I find enough where I can, like, I'm gonna work for the next month off this. So like, usually everything I do, like, I'm gonna try, for the most part, I'm gonna try to get somebody else to do something on it too. That way, I think that's kind of my sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you always have that sound, or do you think because you've put so much time into it now, you have developed your own kind of voice?
No, I definitely developed it, because, like, I'd say in like 2008, 2009, when I first started making beats again, like, I wasn't digging crazy, and like, you could hear it in the beats. The beats were not as good. And then one of my best friends, his name is John Butler. He was digging like crazy, and this dude didn't even make beats. And I remember when I first like started going to his crib, and I was just looking at all the records, and I was like, yo, he's putting you to shame, and he don't even make beats. I'm like, this is why your shit's not hitting. And then he kind of like motivated me to like, all right, you need to get on your game. You need to start getting out there. And as soon as I started doing that, like that's when all my beats, like I started making stuff where I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. That's dope. Like I like this.
Yeah.
That was definitely a turning point. So shout out to him, man.
I'm that friend because I don't do any music, but I have friends like who an archaeologist you can find on SoundCloud. He produced the intro song. He's my friend John Zayat. Yeah, I love collabing, and he's so good. But he searches all the time. But sometimes like I don't do music, but he'll be like, bro, stop sending me music. Like I have too much right now. I'm the friend who like that's the only way I keep in contact with people is I'll like hear a song and I'll send it to them because it reminds me of them. And
well, that's what like I went out to California the end of July. It was still like quarantine, so we couldn't do anything.
mhm.
But I was set up shop at his house, and it's like going to the record store because he has so many records, and literally like I still have samples that I took from there that I can make beats with. Like, yeah, it's really dope.
So you have a Bandcamp where you sell your vinyls. I love that rappers or all musicians are vinyls kind of coming back because it's a way you can support the artist directly, especially with the merch game. It's like Griselda. It's like I buy every Griselda drop in clothes or records or whatever because I love supporting them.
Yeah, I mean, vinyl is important to me because honestly, like, I know I probably should do more like T-shirts and stuff, but like that's not why I did this. I did this to make music, so I want to have the vinyl. So like when I can hold my shit in my hand and look at it, like, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
satisfying experience, you know.
Do you listen mostly on vinyl? You said you're an album guy, so do you like that experience of like
Yeah,
it's a
if
full
I'm at
piece?
the house, I'm listening to vinyl. Like obviously in my car and running around, like I'm listening to Spotify and all that. But if
Yeah.
I'm at the house, I'm definitely listening to vinyl.
Who are you listening to right now?
Who am I listening to? Alchemist having a crazy year.
He really is with
Yeah.
Lulu and Alfredo.
Yeah, man, he did that. He did the Freddie Gibbs project, the Boldy James project, the Conway EP. Today they put out that Earl single.
Oh, I forgot about that. All right, I need to check that out because I
Sold
always
out
love.
500 copies in like 30 seconds. I missed it. Luckily,
Yeah.
one of my homies was like, "You missed it?" Because I have all those 45s. Like I never missed one. And he was like, "You missed it?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I got it. You can have mine because I don't have them all." And I was like, "Thank you so much."
That's a good friend. Yeah, I love the Schoolboy one is so good. That Schoolboy 45 with The Alchemist. But all right, I'm gonna have to check that out. Do you listen like when you listen, do you go more to the grimy Griselda or do you listen more to the arts like Milo and stuff like that?
I'd say my go-to is that grimy, like the Crime Apples, My Commies, the West Side Gun. But
The God Fahim.
yeah, I like. If I had to pick one subgenre, that's probably what I'm gonna go to. But I still listen to like the Rap Fiaris and the J Electronica. Like I like all that stuff too. Like yeah, I can't pick one thing, but I do gravitate more toward the grimy stuff.
How did you get into Griselda? Because they don't do a lot of marketing, so I always wonder how people got into them.
For me, it was probably just once they got to Fly God, the caliber of artists that were working with them, like they had Danny Brown on there, they had Alchemist, they had everyone, Action Bronson, they had everyone I liked on there, so I just started checking for them.
Yeah.
I was probably later than most because I really didn't start listening to them before Fly God. Like Fly God was when I started paying attention to them.
That's how it happened. I was kind of into Reject too, because when that dropped, it was just nothing was like it in 2015. But then Fly God in 2016 dropped, and
Yeah, and then
I was a big Action Bronson fan at that point, so that was
it
just like,
it was game over for that. It was a combination of that, and then when Muggs started his run when he did that album with Mayhem,
yeah.
and then Muggs started working with all them guys from the new scene, and then after that it was just like I was hooked on all that new stuff, like the Mock Tommy, Rome Streets, all that stuff, man. Like
I got to see Muggs and Mayhem for that album drop. They did a show in Boston, and it was so good because Mayhem's such a good rapper.
yeah,
He gets overshadowed by being like Action's guy, but he sticks.
but
He's a real.
better than Action at this point.
Yeah, I love that. I loved Latin Grammys. I'm waiting for Only for Dolphins.
Action is dope, but to me, he's more like of a personality. If you're talking about like spitting, Mayhem is probably like he's that dude now. And
he kills features. Mayhem kills features. Like
he has
on
he has an album coming out with Derringer, and then he has an album coming out with Madlib. Like to me, like I think within the next year or so, like Mayhem's gonna be huge.
Do you rap at all still, or are you a full production?
Nah, I'm full production. Like
I don't know if you did Alchemist style, and
No,
we're gonna have a Step Brothers type album.
No. I gave that up when I was a kid. That's when that's when I was like, this is what you can focus at. You can be great at this. You're not going to be great at that. Nah, that's not happening.
I love Alchemist rapping, though. I don't know. I love him and Evidence. They're such a good combo.
Step Brothers, yeah, they're amazing. And then even the Gangrene stuff, because Ono is really slept on, too.
Yeah. I know this is a real deep dive of people who don't listen to rap listening to this podcast, but I love finally talking to someone who can nerd out over stuff.
I was like, hopefully that's what we're going to talk about, music. Because I know, like, I was like, me and him got really similar tastes, so I was like, hopefully we'll just nerd out about music.
Are you a concert guy? Do you like going to shows?
Oh, yeah, I love shows, but, yeah, who knows when we're going to get back to that.
I know. Well, you're in South Carolina. So in Boston, like before, I was going to like a show a week. Like I loved concerts and I miss it now. But yeah, I don't know when it's going to come back.
Yeah, I would at least go to like one a month at least.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, it was like going to church. Like
exactly.
Now,
yeah.
I feel like I'm missing out on that. Like it's weird.
What was the last show you went to before for quarantine?
Dang.
I saw Young Dolph and Key Glock like 2 days beforehand, but that's like I love Memphis rap. I've always loved Memphis rap. 3-6, Project Pad, Juicy J.
I had tickets. I was supposed to go home to California in April, and I was so excited because I had tickets to go see Gibbs and Madlib, and then Bad Bad Not Good was the same show. Like. I had this trip planned for like 2 months to go home, and we were just waiting. And there was a couple little shows that kept coming up, and because everyone's like, "You're coming home, we need to go to a show." I'm like, "Yeah, we got to find the right show." And a couple little shows were coming up, and it's like, "Man, we're not gonna get to go to a show." And then finally, they announced it was like the week before Coachella, because I was going home like the week in between like the Coachellas. And then they announced that show, and I was just like, game over. I was like, I get to see Madlib. I hadn't seen Madlib in a couple years, and then with Freddie Gibbs and Bad Bad Not Good, and then the COVID shit popped off, and we didn't get to see any of that.
I've always wanted to see Bad Bad Not Good. I saw Freddie Gibbs on his tour, but Madlib wasn't there. It was the one with Conway. I have this thing with concerts where it's like it can be I feel like a great rap concert is when he has a band. Like, I love rapping in front of a full band. Like, that's what I like to see, and it doesn't happen that much now. Like, I love seeing, like, I saw Prime, and it was cool seeing Premier just, like, scratch and do all that stuff, which is amazing when you have a real DJ. But I love when they have a full band. That's, like, that's my shit, when it's a rapper with a full band behind them.
Yeah, sometimes that's dope. Like, I can appreciate it all because sometimes you'll see a band that's just crazy, like, with the rapper, and then sometimes it's just dope to see just the DJ and the rapper or the producer and the rapper on there, like, back to basics. I remember last year I saw Earl Sweatshirt in Charlotte.
I
And
saw that tour. Yeah.
yeah, that shit was like, it was just simple. Like, it was just him and the DJ, but it was so good. Like, when I was watching it, it made me feel the same way when I was a kid. Like, I saw Ghostface when he put out Supreme Clientele. Like, when
Damn.
I was watching that, I was like, man, he's one of the best rappers in the world right now. And then when I saw Earl on that tour, like, it gave me that same feeling when I was just like, damn, this is one of the best rappers in the world right now, and he does it so effortless. You know what I mean?
He really does. That's what, yeah. I guess that's true. It shows a rapper's skill when they don't need anything behind them, too. Like, I just want Ab Soul to drop more music because he's one of my favorite rappers ever. And I saw him in tour in 2016.
It's a classic, man.
I know. I saw him on the Do What Thou Wilt tour, and he was one of the best. Like, him rapping was like, I couldn't pay attention to anything else. Usually, like, I just stood there and stared at him for the entire concert because he just has a certain way of, like, rapping that's unbelievable.
It was dope when I saw Earl, though, in Charlotte. The after party, they had a different show in the same night with the Alcoholics. And then they had this group called the Black Opera. They're on Mellow Music Group. Like, it was like the perfect night of rap music. Like, I literally went from Earl, and then I went to this other show where the Alcoholics were there. And like, I grew up on the Alcoholics. Like, they're amazing. And like, they lived up to like every like vision I had of them in my head. Like, when the show was over, they were still outside rapping. Like, it was just like, it was a perfect night, man. It was like, thank you, rap gods.
Oh, is that where you got the name?
No, that's where I always say that shit. But yeah, that's what my album's gonna be called.
Rap gods. That's dope. Do your kids like rap, or are they like, we listen to this too much?
It's crazy because my youngest son, like, I like groomed him to love rap, but he ended up like, he likes rock more than rap. Like, he plays guitar and he loves, but the rap he listens to is really, really, really dope. Like, he was kind of blowing my mind the other day. I was like, put your rap playlist on, and he put it on. They had like Doom and Dell and Blue and Exile. Like, I was like, these are good songs.
You felt it.
Like Pete Rock and CL Smooth, Troy on there, and I was just like, all right, I did good with you. Like, this may not be what you listen to every day, but when you listen to rap, you listen to the really good stuff. And then, like, I have my adopted son, like, he likes all the little rappers. Like, he likes, and like, we never could see eye to eye on it because, like, I'm just like, I don't get the appeal in it, you know? Like, yeah.
Well, that's like, all right, so I saw this rapper, you probably never, it's because it's real. Hood Rich Pablo Juan is his name.
Nah, I never heard of it.
Yeah, and I saw him at a club in Boston, and he showed up 2 hours late, walked on stage with a bottle of promethazine, $25,000 in cash, and just counted the money while his song played in the background. And it was like, I had to respect it. Like, it was never a concert I'd want to go to again. But for him to do that, I was like, all right, it's the lifestyle. It's like, okay, you're real. You don't care. Like, you are like, but I would never pay to see that show, but I enjoyed it when I was there.
Yeah, but then with my middle son, I feel like with all his teenage angst, like, he almost went out of his way to like the rap that he knew I would hate.
What do you hate?
Yeah.
like all that stuff?
Like, the Lil Peeps and all that stuff. Like he would just go out of, like, that attracted to him because he's like, I know this is going to piss my dad off. So, like, I feel like he did that on purpose. I don't know, like, when he's like 30 years old, if he's still going to be listening to that, like,
no way.
This is really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there's no way.
To some good stuff, like, he like Denzel Curry, and I respect him. Like, it may be not what I listen to every day, but that dude can rap. You know what I mean?
He can, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Denzel, Ghostface Killah, and this metal group called Horror. together, and it was one of the most crazy shows I've ever seen because people were moshing, and then Ghostface comes out, and then
That's the most bugged up lineup right there.
it was crazy. So
then
did you hear? What were you saying? Sorry.
And my oldest son, he doesn't even like rap music. Like,
What does he listen to?
he
Like Jack Johnson?
Yeah, it's like pop music. Like the most whatever's on the radio, that's what he likes. So
Well, see, that I guess that's my dad was a metal guy, so I don't really like metal that much. Like, I'm not going to be listening to that much. But there's a couple songs here and there I like, but rap is just kind of what I gravitated to. Did you hear that Flea Lord and Pete Rock album?
oh yeah, that's crazy.
Flea Lord is really like he's getting good. He's becoming a fantastic rapper.
I wish he would do an album with Muggs, because I think him and Muggs would be the perfect pairing, man. Like,
Yeah.
because that Muggs and ETO, like when they he has a feature on there, and I was like, man, I just want a whole album of Flea and Muggs. And the way Muggs is like just churning out albums, like I feel like it could be so easy for them to do.
I think, well, that's good that you're like, producers are really making a name for themselves again. There was like a time when streaming started where I feel like producers couldn't get their name out there as much, but right now it seems like if you're like, producers' projects are like having The Alchemist produce your album is a lot different than, like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago when streaming was kind of getting.
You can even see the difference in like the way Alchemist is selling out projects now. Like, it wasn't always like that. Like, he's always been a legend, but now it's just like there's almost like a fever pitch for him.
Yeah, he's and it's so funny because I hate it, but it's like that Action Bronson reality TV show. He opened up like a weird world to the New York grime, even though he's not in it.
I was trying to think about today. I'm like, what changed? Because even one of my friends was like, yo, these early Alchemist 45, they didn't sell out. Like, you could buy them in the store. And he's like, but now these ones are selling out in 30 seconds. What changed? And I was like, is it the doc crowd? It's like, maybe it's a combination of like, now you have this doc crowd that maybe necessarily didn't buy his music before, but now that he's working with all them artists, they're buying the music, and then combined with the fact that he's on TV every day, like, it's just crazy, like, how much has changed. Like,
my mom even knows The Alchemist because she watched Fuck That's Delicious, so she would laugh at him because he would always be like, nah, I ain't trying that shit.
I love
and it's
that.
like, I do too. I even like the Untitled Action Bronson show. Those are
the
great.
amount of people that I put onto that show this summer was ridiculous.
It's such a good show to just like chill out and watch. So who do you want to collab with? Like, who's your, not like dream collabs, but who do you think you can and would collab with?
Elzai, Fashion, anybody from Griselda, like all the cats in the new scene, like the Crime Apple, the Willie the Kid, Huss the Kingpin. Like, I want to work with all of them.
And it's crazy how they're just slowly but surely building up. Like, real rap is coming back. It really is. Like,
it feels like it feels like counterculture again, because it's like,
yeah,
right now, like, people are trying to, like, I have friends that are like, that grew up listening to rap, and they're all jaded now. They're just like, rap doesn't do it for me anymore. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, right now is the most exciting time it's been in probably like 10 years.
I do think, I don't know, how do you feel about this? So like the 6ix9ine thing, I think is completely scripted. And I think it showed how much the label just manufactures beef, music, rap. So it shows like, oh, let's just listen to independent, because the labels it's literally WWE now. Like, that's what like label rap is.
I think and I don't even think it's just rap. I think the whole major label music system, like, this shit it's just washed. Like,
yeah,
no matter what kind of music you listen to, you're not going to hear the best of it on a major label. Like, they're few and far between. Like, for every Kendrick Lamar, there's like 100 like bullshit artists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's very few and far between that albums kind of slip through that are great. Like I just right before this I was listening to Detroit 2, Big Sean's new album. And I know he's probably not your style, but he's like, that's a real album. Like, I'm surprised the stuff he was allowed to talk about on it, what he like, it's a real good project.
I skimmed through it last night just because I wanted to hear like what it was sounding like, and I listened to that song where he has everybody from Detroit.
Every rap, yeah.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. All 10 minutes I was just like sitting there with a face on. Because I love Sada Baby.
No,
like, I love all that.
Boldy James, he fucking glided on that, man. Like, when he came on there, like, I was happy for him. Like, that's an amazing look for him.
He deserves that. Because when you go back and listen, like, his first project with The Alchemist, amazing. And then he kind of went into, like, a more pop-sounding phase for, like, 4 or 5 albums.
Mass Appeal.
Yeah, when he was on Mass Appeal, but now that he's doing the Griselda again, it's like, this is what he should have. I love it. Him and The Alchemist. Even Versace.
I met him before he put out that first one with Alchemist. I went to like an Evidence show in LA, and they had Gangrene opening and Crondon from Strong Arm Steady, and Boldy James was selling the merch at that fucking show.
Really?
Yeah. And
I was like,
don't you have an album coming out with Alchemist? And he was like, yeah, it's coming soon. And then like next thing he knew, he put out that album with him. I was just like, that was the fucking guy that was selling merch at the show.
That's crazy.
And then he put out like, to me, that first one was a classic.
I think that's one of the best, like, grind. Like, that's just a perfect album. I love it.
And then you didn't hear nothing about him for like 4 or 5 years, and then now he just like he's back and like back with a vengeance too, like just killing it.
Griselda's good at sign. Like, I love Armani. I think Armani can be a great rapper. Well, I think Boldy. They're gonna sign Stove God. Like, they got YN Billy. They got some good rappers coming up.
Yeah, they definitely do. Boldy James, he put out this album with this jazz producer from Detroit too that a lot of people kind of slept on. Like, he put out 3 albums this year, and he has his 3rd one that's like with this jazz producer from Detroit, and it's crazy.
I haven't checked. I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Look at his Spotify, because I got the vinyl, and the vinyl of that one, like, no one even knows about it, but that one even sold out real quick.
Really? Well, Boldy's about to blow up. Just like you seeing him sell merch. I know it's not the same, but I saw this rapper Rob Banks a couple of years ago, and DaBaby opened up, and he was like no one. Like, he had like 0 listens, and he had a chain on, and his chain broke and fell into the crowd, and someone like picked it up and gave it back to him. He was like, man, thank you. Like, I needed that. It's just crazy having him be the biggest rapper in the world right now. Like,
that dude's like a god here in the Carolinas, man, because he's from like Charlotte area.
Yeah, he is. He's a Charlotte guy. But it's just so funny seeing how big he is now. That same thing with Boldy.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being on. I'm happy that we finally got to talk. Hopefully, if you're in Boston, we can do another meetup and interview him first.
I'll be coming there in the summertime because my friend that I told you about, he's getting married. So we definitely got to link up.
We got a link. Do you want to plug your shit? Give your social medias and where you can find your stuff on Bandcamp?
Yeah, everything on Instagram and Twitter is at freshman_woes. And then on Bandcamp, freshman woes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. And everyone check out Freshman Woes shit because it's fantastic. It's on my daily repeat. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next week.